Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the COASTER-net Top 3. We've got the 3 news stories that you might have missed this week. This time, though, from the international realm. Yes, we're going to I know all international stories here.
International.
Yes, so we're going to go over the pond to see what's going on in the rest of the world outside of America. I think the biggest story this week was probably the huge announcement of the expansion of Disneyland Paris. That we both know that Disneyland Paris is usually the black sheep of the Disney family, that all the money has been going to the American parks, to the Chinese parks. Now finally Disney owns outright Disneyland Paris, and they are now investing in a very huge way. And when we say a very huge way, we are talking, where's that number at? $2.4 billion.
Euros, Andy. It's in euros.
It's in euros? I thought it converted to 2.4 billion though.
Oh,
it's a lot of money. So we got Frozen, a Frozen boat ride coming in. We've got Star Wars coming into Disneyland Paris. Not surprised there. I think the biggest announcement, though, is that the Marvel characters are going to Disneyland Paris as well. And we are going to see the rock and roller coaster, Rock No More, or maybe rock to a little AC/DC instead of rocking to Aerosmith, because Iron Man is officially taking over the Aerosmith roller coaster, the rock and roller coaster out there. So, Water Parker, some of your thoughts, you being a big Disney fan, about what's going on here.
Well, Andy, the way that I see this as clones, and more clones. It's staggered of clones here at Disneyland Paris.
Hey,
we got a brand new Star Wars area. Star Wars is a huge international property across the world. I think it's going to be a great hit in the European market. Frozen, a big hit in the United States, a big hit in the international world, especially in Europe. So I'm very excited to see how they adapt the attraction. Now, of course, we do have a Frozen attraction over at Epcot. Frozen Ever After. Now, I believe they're going to do something very similar in the European model. But lastly, Marvel. Andy, I've always been a huge advocate for Marvel attractions. We're getting a brand new Marvel attraction at Epcot. We're getting some new Marvel attractions all over the place. I think this is a great move for Disney because, we're now starting to see Disney branch out. They're starting to use new IPs. They're definitely making that money count and definitely make more money in the international market.
Well, one of the big knocks on Disney over the last, 50 years has been its reliance on things that appeal to girls and the princesses, the castles, and there's always stuff that the boys could get into too. So I think that criticism has always been a little unfounded, saying that Disney is for girls. But definitely here, they are adding in a whole bunch of stuff. Oh boy, here we go.
Andy, what are you talking about? Freaking all for girls. Freaking come on. Expedition Everest, man.
But they're definitely adding stuff like Avengers and Star Wars that appeals a lot to boys, but also now in 2018 appeals to all genders as well. Because Marvel has a number of female heroines, and I think we're going to see a lot more emphasis on that. With Black Widow possibly getting her own movie in the next few years here. Disney is right there on the cutting edge, and I think we're going to see a lot of great things coming out of them. And Disneyland Paris now, if you've put off a trip there, you might want to book one in the next few years to Disneyland Paris to go experience all that great stuff. Also, we've learned that, speaking of the flip side of this, the arch rival of the Marvel universe has to be the DC universe, mishandled completely here in the States for movies that nobody really cares about any of those films whatsoever. But it seems that in Abu Dhabi, they are adding in a whole new Batman-themed, Gotham-themed world land at Warner Bros Park out in Abu Dhabi. And now this one's quite interesting because, we're trying to decipher from the press release what exactly is going on. We know that they are going to have a Batman night flight simulator. That's definitely going to be there. We have a Riddler Revolution ride that, from the concept art, looks like it's going to be some sort of disco. We don't know if it's going to have the hill in the middle or just be a standard disco. They call it a spinning coaster. But from the concept art, it's clearly a disco coaster. So we'll see how long it is, if it's one of the extended ones or one of the ones that just is the U shape. We're also going to have a Joker's Funhouse, which looks to be like a classic carnival walkthrough attraction. And I think, a lot of those would be really cool if they start coming back. And I think the Joker is a great place to theme that to. And then we're also going to have a Scarecrow ride that we really don't know what that's going to be. It talks about barrel rolls. It talks about, maneuvers, flight maneuvers. The first thing that comes to my mind is an air race. But we looked at a number of different articles, and we can't find any direct information more on the Scarecrow ride. So we think it's going to be a flat ride of sorts, maybe an air race, maybe something else. Maybe like you were saying, like one of the the Shell Shock Ninja Turtle rides with the spinning cars, and we see one out at Canada's Wonderland that doesn't spin but just goes up and down the pole with Skyhawk. So Water Parker, I know you're a huge Batman fan. What are your thoughts here on the Gotham
Andy,
section?
I'm a big Joker fan. I mean, Joker's my favorite supervillain, period, point blank. Forget your Red Skulls. Forget Dr. Doom. Joker's where it's at. And, Andy, I love this edition. I have to admit it right now. I love this edition. I love how they're bringing in some new quality concepts to the DC IP. You got a flight simulator. You've got spinning rides. You've got a Joker's Funhouse, which I think that, when you tie all of this together, Andy, this is a perfect way for Warner Brothers to go and say to the international market, hey, come and check out some of our films. Because, as we know, some of the films have been doing well. Some really have not. But at the same time, I'm a huge DC fan. I'm a huge Marvel fan. And I think that, it's going to be a great addition for Abu Dhabi. It's an up-and-coming theme park industry. However, Andy, I will have to admit, I wish it was coming to the States. Because I believe this kind of attraction, maybe make the night, the Batman ride into some sort of launch coaster or something like that. That would have been perfect in some sort of Six Flags park, or maybe a standalone Warner Brothers park, which, Andy, I don't know whether or not that'll come to the States one day, but I'm very interested to see what happens with this new Abu Dhabi park that's coming in I believe it's coming in the near future. I forget.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because, Six Flags has always dabbled with the Batman more heavily than the other, DC stuff. That we know that there are a number of Gotham-themed lands. Six Flags over Georgia jumps out to me right away, where you have the Riddler coaster, the Batman coaster, the Harley Quinn, Tilt-A-Whirl. So you have a lot of Batman-themed rides right there in the one section. It seems like they're moving more towards a whole DC universe type deal, which I think is cool. But Batman has always been the standout with DC. That, yeah, some of the other heroes are cool, but Batman has always been the go-to for coolness. And just a thought I had, that as you were saying that, it seems like SeaWorld's in big-time trouble here, that we also heard that Joel Manby is stepping down from CEO of SeaWorld. And, it's Six Flags has always said that they wanted to get into the Orlando market. And I think the only way to fix SeaWorld is to go completely IP-based with it. And what if Six Flags went in there, bought up SeaWorld, and completely changed it to a DC theme? And why not go one step further and go all Batman,
I mean, hey, let's have a whole entire park dedicated to Batman invert clones. There we go. There we go, folks. You heard it here right now.
Yeah, so, I think, Kraken could be Killer Croc. Manta, you could just take off that stupid thing on the front of it, and just make it into a Batman ride. You already go through the cave. You could go through the Batcave. Take out all those stupid fish and put it in a Batcave. How cool would that be?
Don't call them stupid, Andy.
Yeah, well, they are. So, and Manta's not a very good ride anyway. We all know that. So,
it's a shame Danny's not here. Oh, where's Dan? I don't know.
So our last story on the top three is going to be that we finally saw that wonderful ride out at Alton Towers. Wicker Man. We saw the first test runs there as well with fire. Now, the fire effect, I think, is by far the coolest part of this ride. I'm not sure how this ride's going to ride. I'm not sure if this is going to be an amazing roller coaster. It looks like it's going to be a very good roller coaster. Will it be a top 10? I'm not so sure. But I'll tell you what, the effects on this roller coaster are going to be top 10. Alton Tower comes up with the craziest ideas. And the thought that they're going to have a burning fire feature on a wood coaster seems crazy to me. And these videos that you can see right now as it's playing here, these videos are even crazier with what's happening. Water Parker, what are some of your thoughts on Wicker Man?
You know, Andy, I don't know what to say here. I'm a huge theming fanboy. I'll admit it right here, right now. That coaster looks freaking amazing with the fire, man. I mean, it's just the way that they have the tunnels laid out, the way that they have created the structure so that it looks as if you're going through multiple wooden structures, going through the Wicker Man. You know, with the fire and the flames stuff. If you guys don't know what a Wicker Man is, it was a pagan, I don't want to get too far into it, but it was a pagan device that lit on fire, and it was not really pretty when lit. However, I will admit this looks pretty cool overall. I think it's going to be a definite hit in the European market, especially in Alton Towers, because, Andy, in all honesty, a lot of the coasters that are in England, they're not that tall. They're very well themed, and they have a lot of rapport and a lot of people behind them. And I think that this might become the wooden coaster that is very similar to Nemesis in terms of theming. Because, you know, everyone's been talking about Nemesis. Everyone talked about Nemesis, and everyone says, I love the theming on it. I love the maneuvers. Maybe this is the wooden coaster that will become the next Nemesis of the English Channel. I do not know, but hey.
You know, it's interesting because, like you said, England's not known for their wood coasters, and this is going to be a big one, being at Alton. So I'm really excited to see how this one is ultimately received amongst all the enthusiasts to see where this one ranks. But the theming, like you said, the spark amazing. So I'm really excited to finally see some POVs of that and how it plays at night. So as always, thank you for joining us here on the COASTER-net Top 3. I'm, of course, Andrew Barchak from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm the Water Parker from Cincinnati, Ohio. And as always, stay tropical, ladies and gentlemen.
Right on, right, Warriors.